wife? A son.
And then what?
The Odyssey, directed by Christopher Nolan, is based off of an ancient piece of Greek literature that was written by an author named Homer. This historical text, the Odyssey, is, you could say, a sequel to an original piece of ancient Greek literature called the Iliad. The Iliad tells the story of the Trojan War between the Greeks and Troy during the Bronze Era of civilization. Now, as for someone like me who knows nothing about Greeks and gods and all this stuff, I don't even watch movies like this. Only reason I'm watching this is because of Christopher Nolan, and then you gotta do your research to make it sound like you know what you're talking about. But I really don't. I had to look up all this stuff, and it's a brain twister for me, but it is fascinating, learning about the Greeks and Troy and all that.
After years of war, no one could stand between my men and home.
So the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's film, tells the story of a man named Odysseus, who is played by Matt Damon here, and he is the king of an island called Ithaca. He is married to his queen named Penelope, who is played by Anne Hathaway, and they have a son named Telemachus, who is played by Tom Holland. Odysseus has to leave his family behind so he can fight in the Trojan War for 10 long years. And this movie is not told in chronological order. And that's what I love about the movie. I think that's what kept me engaged as an audience member, is that it wasn't a linear story. The narrative wasn't told in chronological order. So we're getting pieces of information about the journeys and the stories and the feelings and thoughts of these characters and their connections with each other, all from different spaces in time.
No one could stand between me and home. Not even the gods.
This is more of a slow burning kind of moral dilemma, fantasy journey kind of movie. And I don't even like these kinds of movies. Like I already said, if it wasn't for Christopher Nolan, I would not be watching this thing, because I don't get into the gods and monsters and fantasy, all that kind of stuff. We got gods and monsters and all kinds of craziness up in here. And when we are introduced to that, that's when the movie kicks up a notch for me. Like, I was already paying attention to the story, but them talking about, the trials and tribulations of war and all that kind of stuff, I kind of zoned out of that. But then, once we go on the journey and we learn, what this whole Odyssey thing is, that's when the movie kicked it up for notch for me, man. Bro, the journey is the most fascinating part in this film. The elements in here, just circumstance after circumstance after circumstance, situation after situation after situation, man. It just escalates. There's a lot of scary stuff happening in this movie. If Christopher Nolan ever did want to make just a full-blown, psychological horror film, straight-up horror, bro, I'm down. I think he would totally kill it. Because out of all the horror movies I've seen this year, there is one scene in this movie, bro, where it's bro, it was so horrific. My eyes were literally watering up, bro. I think I cried a little bit. It was so horrifying. You're so invested in the story and the journey that when the shit hits the fan, you're just you feel for these people, even though they're nasty people too. And that's the moral situation, is you care about the people being killed in these horrific situations that they just got caught up in by just circumstances and chance. And it's you care also for the people that are being disturbed, because you're well, these men, they just want to go home, but at the same time they're ruining these people's habitats, so it's where do you draw the line here? I'm just curious as to what's gonna happen next. And then at a certain point, when they're like, "Yeah, let's go investigate this," I'm like, "Bro, don't do it, bro. Just stay on the boat, bro. Stay on the ship. Don't leave the ship, man. Don't go. No more exploring." Dude, Odysseus, he's the one who is getting his team killed. He's the one who's killing his own men. Because he's the one who's like, yeah, let's go explore. Let's go over here. Let's go over there. Like throughout the film, I'm like, how are you king, bro? I can see, he's a very noble man. He's an excellent warrior, and all that. But dude, he is so dumb. He is the reason why a lot his people are being murdered. Even one of his teammates, one of his warriors are like, bro, let's leave, let's get up out of here. And he's like, no, it's fine. And then everyone's hollering and screaming and dying all around him, and it's his fault. And so then with all of this going on, we have more stuff happening here. And it's with Robert Pattinson's character, Antinous. And he is one of the many unruly suitors that wants to take the place as king, and he wants to replace Odysseus, and he wants to marry Penelope. So there's a lot going on in this movie. This movie's like 3 hours long, and at first you think about that and you're like, dang man, that's a long time. But hey man, in Christopher Nolan we trust, man. And so I sat down and I watched it. As you can tell, if you couldn't tell already, I love this movie. I love Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, and I say that with a huge smile on my face. I can see people complaining about, well, you got so many cast members in this movie who are recognizable, like Matt Damon and Anne Hathaway and Tom Holland, who's in everything, and then you got Zendaya in here. Now, I will say, yeah, even though you have this ensemble cast of recognizable actors, it doesn't take away from the movie. I feel like every actor in here brings their A game. They are playing these characters. Even though I see their face, I'm like, hey, that's John Barenthal. That's so-and-so and such and such. After I recognize these people, the story continues and I get lost into the film, and I completely forget that, hey, that's Matt Damon, that's so-and-so and such, because I'm so sucked into the movie. So having the ensemble cast, having these completely recognizable actors, you would assume it'd be distracting, and it is for like a microsecond. But as a whole, it doesn't take away from the beauty of this film, for me at least. This is a movie, it's fantasy, it's entertainment, and that's all there is to it. And like by the end of it all, I was crying, not full on tears, but a single tear came down my face. And the music is epic. Music in Christopher Nolan movies is always epic. It's basically like just full on orchestra, and this is epic music with the epic cinematography, like the most epic visuals you can ever see on screen. Epicness. This is one of my favorite movies of 2026. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Epic! On all levels. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, Chris told me he wanted to give me the lead in a film, and I immediately just blurted out, yes. And then he said, don't you want to hear what it is? And I said, sure.